Okay, now we're going to continue with our worksheet. What we've done so far is add the amounts from our general ledger to make sure our trial balance was correct, and then we've calculated our adjustments. Now we're going to total down our adjustments, so if you click on the function, and then we're going to add the column down and click OK. You're going to highlight, left click and highlight the whole column that you're going to add, and click OK, and it'll add those down. Now you can do what's called fill a formula. So I want to do the same thing here, is add this whole column down. So what I'm going to do is click in here once and then get the skinny plus sign, not this plus sign, but the skinny one, and drag over. And then if you click, and it'll understand that you want to add the same formula just one column over, which is nice. So now if you look up here in the formula bar, it's adding column E8. It's adding column E and then row 8 through E26, so that's kind of nice. Our adjusted trial balance columns is saying, okay, now that we've made some adjustments and whatever, then let's go ahead and figure our new balances here after that. So some of them wouldn't have changed, so let's highlight the ones that haven't changed, and I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to highlight where I want to put these because they're still debit normal balances, and paste those. Now our supplies has changed, so we're going to do a formula here. We're going to type in equals, that means it's a formula, and we're going to take B12, which is our supplies, minus how much we used, which is a credit, of E12, and then that's our new balance. So now we have 520 in supplies, which is what our book said that we had physically left. So now in this next column down, we're going to have it fill the formula. We're going to have it do the same thing. It's going to take, in this case now, it's going to take B13 minus E13, and it's going to get the same amount. Okay. Now all of these balances haven't changed because there wasn't any adjustments. So I'm going to highlight and copy and paste those over on the credit side of the adjusted trial balance column here. The drawing account hasn't changed. I'm just going to enter that amount. The sales account hasn't changed. Oops. Advertising, we have $100 in advertising. Notice now we have $160 in insurance expense that we didn't have before. We still have $183 in miscellaneous, $1,200 of rent, $157 of repair expense. Now we have $940 in supplies and $365 in utilities. So now you want to make sure your debits still equal your credits as you move over. So I'm going to click on here and fill that formula because we're just adding the next rows down. So now it shows that those are equal, which is good. Now we're going to extend over to the income statement or the balance sheet columns. Remember on a worksheet, now we're going to find out, using our adjusted trial balance columns, whether or not we made money or lost money. Assets, liability, and your capital get extended over to the balance sheet columns, remember. Revenue and expenses get extended over to your income statement. Okay, so these are the amounts that are going to get extended over into our income statement, our revenue and our expenses. So I'm going to copy these and paste them over here. Okay. Our balance sheets are your assets, your liabilities, and your owner's equity. So I'm going to highlight these, copy, and because they still have the same balances, and these go over in the balance sheet columns. Okay. Now we're going to find out whether or not we made money, but first let's total down these two columns. I'm going to use that to fill the formula. Notice that the amounts aren't equal, and they shouldn't be, because over the course of the month or the year, you've sold things and you've had expenses. So now you're going to find out whether or not you made money or lost money. I'm I'm going to go to this underneath the column in the income statement that's the smaller side. And I'm going to do a formula. I'm going to do equals, and we're going to take our sales minus our expense total. So we're going to take I-27 minus H-27 and enter. And that gave us 965. Our sales, or revenue, is larger than our expenses, so over here I'm going to record that we have a net income. If our expense side was larger than our revenue side, then we had a net loss. But in this case, we have a net income. Okay, I'm going to use this. We're going to add down these columns, so I'm going to go ahead and fill the formula over. Notice that our asset side is larger than our expense side. Okay, and that's going to be true because we made money. So our assets are larger than our liabilities. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to the smaller side. Yikes, hold on. And we're going to do a formula to take J27, our balance sheet debit side, minus K27. Notice that I get the same amount, and that is what you should. Because, let's think about this for a minute. In the income statement columns, we sold more. Our sales were larger than our expenses, so we made money. If you look in the balance sheet, it should be the same amount. Our assets increased more than our liabilities did. So we made money, so the same amount these two should be equal. Now what we're going to do is a formula to add these columns down so that we can make sure those are right. So we're going to add H27 plus H28, and that equals 4,000. And so we're going to fill that formula down now. Our income statement columns equal and our balance sheet columns equal, and that's what you should get as a double check to make sure your work's right. Now we're going to add a few more things to our worksheet. We're going to add some lines so that it looks a little bit more professional here. So we're going to highlight this whole row here and then go to Format Cells and then go to Border. Let's do a thick border on the top of that cell. I take that back. Don't do that. The bottom of that cell. No, I was right the first time. Do a thick border on the top of that cell and click OK. Notice that means we're going to add those columns. We added those columns down. Over here we're going to do another line, meaning that we added those down. We're going to do a thick border on the top. Underneath that, on the bottom side of the cell, we're going to do a double line and then click OK. Notice I went to Format Cells, Border. So now I have this double line here, meaning these columns are equal and these columns are equal, and then this single line. Let's add a double line underneath here to tell ourselves that those are equal. So we're going to do a double line at the bottom, and then voila, we have that. We have net income over here. We're good to go on that. Now we're going to add at the title the name of the company, which was the Fitness Center. Is that right? Yeah, Fitness Center. And then this was for month ended. And then it was May 31st of 2010. Okay. So I want you to go to File, Save As, and save it as Worksheet, Reinforcement, and then click Save. It'll say, in our case, this is an older version of Excel than what we have on our computer, so just go ahead and say yes on that. and then we'll go on to part 3.